This is your daily dose of all things royal. There is a great deal of complexity and activity happening right now within the United States, if you haven't noticed, with these insurrections that are igniting across the country and elsewhere around the world. There are many of us who have been distracted with this Harry and Meghan saga, and it makes me concerned because Meghan is taking up a lot of attention, and I'm just thinking, like, what are we missing? What is brewing in the next couple of days with these organized billionaire-funded protests that we're not seeing? Now, I don't know if this is for shock value or if this is part of the strategy, but there is a troubling irony with the bizarre photos and videos that Meghan has been posting recently, as Los Angeles, the city Meghan Markle calls home, grapples with turmoil. She shares this carefree image of herself dancing in the ocean waves, evoking the tone of something like a douche commercial. This is the same Meghan who, during the LA wildfires, arrived with cameras in tow, championing Governor Gavin Newsom and Mayor Karen Bass, figures aligned with Marxist and communist ideals. Where's her voice now? In the moment of crisis, her silence speaks volumes, suggesting acquiescence to a managed decline and collapsing the system, an unraveling some believe is a deliberate step towards a transformative new world order to usher in those 15-minute cities and digital IDs. For those that are steeped in certain ideological circles, this chaos is not a crisis, but a necessary dismantling of a system they deem oppressive. This perspective, warped by years of propaganda, is perpetuated through educational institutions and corporate structures. I understand this mindset intimately, having once shared it. Back in 2016, living in a blue state and working in corporate America, I was surrounded by the relentless push of DEI initiatives, climate change, UN SDG 2030 goals, and anti-Trump rhetoric, with CNN, NBC, MSNBC pumping through the office all day long. The company's CEO, a prominent World Economic Forum figure, embodied those globalist values that I was unaware of and saw as a conspiracy when anybody would talk about it. Like many, I viewed Donald Trump through the lens crafted by these outlets, seeing dissenters as radical and Trump going to cause all of us to go into World War III. I literally believed that. The media's influence was pervasive, normalizing this worldview. And, for many who have been with me from the beginning, you know that I wasn't an avid user of social media. So I wasn't using it at that time, nor was I watching YouTube for anything. I did not even know you could make a living being a creator. Well, anyhow, my awakening came through personal ordeal in 2019 after enduring discrimination and retaliation for reporting corporate fraud. I saw the hollowness of the DEI campaigns. After falling from grace and having to cancel my cable because I could no longer afford it, I turned to YouTube. And that's when I encountered perspectives that shattered all those narratives I'd been fed, especially when it came to Meghan Markle. I guess you could say that this was a blessing in disguise because over the years, having to study this saga and the royal family and witnessing all these crises, I learned are profitable for those who orchestrate them, clearly. The globalist agenda, with its disdain for American sovereignty, thrives on such instability, with its proponents mutually reinforcing their vision. I see this so-called undercurrent that's driving the decay that we're all witnessing, and that undercurrent really is a calculated, I want to say unraveling, cloaked in the guise of what they perceive as so-called progress, which it's not. It's actually setting us backwards. At times, Meghan Markle's calculated maneuvers, they do spark frustration, and I think that's all by design. Yet, I think we need to remind ourselves that many are still currently ensnared by the pervasive propaganda that has been saturating public discourse. And of course, we know that it's orchestrated by leftist forces. Voices like mine can only reach so far, but I do see an awakening of others that will just take some time. Slowly but surely, we're getting there. I think we're really fortunate now to have a platform like X, which for now fosters open dialogue and diverse perspectives. I think without it, imagine what that void would look like. Actually, if you want to see what that looks like, go over to Blue Sky, and that will tell you everything about how warped and delusional the left really is. They honestly do not see that what's going on in LA is a problem. Censorship once stifled our understanding, particularly regarding the plight of the 300,000+ children that have gone missing. Prior to Elon Musk buying over Twitter, you couldn't talk about these missing children or the trafficking that was going on, because not only would you be suppressed, but you'd also get flagged for misinformation or disinformation, and your post would get pulled. I mean, it still happens on YouTube as well on Facebook. I guess the question that I have is why? Why is this one topic purposely being suppressed and censored? The only answer that I can come up with is that they don't want this to stop. The powers that may be at the top. You know, this type of suppression, and I hope people understand, does persist around the world, cloaking corruption so deftly that many remain oblivious to the machinations unfolding before them. At least for Americans, when we look from years 2020 to 2024 under the Biden regime, the United States faced a crisis of sovereignty, an influx of military-aged illegal migrants from nations with little regard for following our laws. And, you know, even over the last couple of days, we've seen some openly being hostile to America's own existence, but ironically feel entitled to everything that this country has to offer. Yeah, I think the betrayal by the last administration, especially by Alejandro Mayorkas from Cuba, is tantamount to treason. And I don't know why he hasn't been arrested yet, but here we are. And when you reflect back, the leftist globalist elite, exemplified by figures like Harry and Meghan, which is why I can't stand them, sought to squash any narrative they deemed inconvenient, wielding and using their influence to stifle any kind of dissent and obscure the truth. You know, the last 4 years with these elitists and their fucking truth needs to be shoved up their asses, because look at the damage that they have caused. And now we're dealing with the fallout over it. What a complete crock of shit this whole SDG goal scam is. Bullet number 10, reducing inequalities by having open borders. Okay, so if they want to reduce inequality, are they telling us that they're sending the best and brightest to our countries? No. What they're doing is bringing us down to third world level, which is what we're seeing right now in Los Angeles. Now, when I talk about these globalist elites, I'm including figures like King Charles and Prince William, because we know that they are steadfast proponents of the UN Sustainable Development Goals and this Agenda 2030. I mean, King Charles was part of the planning crew for that. Let me quickly go ahead and show you what a colossal failure these Sustainable Development Goals have been. Well, I wouldn't say colossal failure for the United Nations, who made so much money, as well as all the globalists who thought that this was a clever idea. At the same time, as you're looking at the data that they put together, the United States is steadily declining, even though we are the ones who have given the most money to develop and save the rest of the world. So in 2020, when Donald Trump was in office, the United States had ranked number 31 out of the 195 member states that belong to the United Nations in this tracking of the Sustainable Development Goals, these goals that nobody here in the United States had voted on and agreed to be held accountable to. But here we are. As you can see, during the Trump era, we were trending upwards, and this was true. The economy was growing. There were more jobs opening up. Things were progressing and improving, as you can see those green arrows. Fast forward during the Biden regime and the billions of dollars that was thrown out the window to other countries and helping them, we took a massive hit, dropping to number 46. Now, when you look at this list over the couple of years, that was a significant drop, considering we gave the most money to help everybody else, aside from helping ourselves. And this is why this doesn't work for us. This is why we don't want anything to do with it. because we suffered from it. Not only did we have to take on the burden of open borders, like what we're seeing now, but the wasteful spending that our government was doing, throwing it out the window to support these stupid SDG goals and following and crafting policies in order to meet this Agenda 2030. And the thing that's so frustrating here to see is when you look at all the data that they have compiled together and the effort that they've put into it over the course of the last decade, doesn't show that there was any real progress to solving any of these, like ending hunger. Like, tell me, how is it that all these countries, specifically the Western countries, are in the red, meaning major challenges remain of food insecurity? Explain that to me, while we have China, who is doing far better than the rest of the world. Right? And the crazy thing is that China is listed with the United Nations as a developing country. So they don't give the amount of money to the United Nations as the United States does. But here we are starving. Explain this to me. Now, when you look at poverty. How is it that the United States is suffering while the rest of the world is thriving? Once again, you see here, China, no poverty. Russia, no poverty. When you look at Canada, Australia, the UK, France, Spain, all of them are doing far better than the United States. Yeah, you can't make this up. We are giving to everybody, but nobody is helping us. So why should we feel sorry for cutting our U.S. aid off when we need to help our own people? And poor Africa is getting raped, just like the Baka people, by everyone stealing from their land. Instead, all those billions of dollars that many countries have allegedly given, why is it still red? Why is Africa constantly still in the red? Still hungry, still poor, don't have water. This makes absolutely no sense to me. I mean, for years, we're giving billions of dollars to places in Africa. Why is there no improvement? I mean, put aside the government money, you have all these billionaires who claim to be philanthropists. What are they doing? You know what I mean? All that money is doing what? I mean, this to me is a true eye-opener when you see how corrupt the system is. So now when you see what's going on here in the United States, it's a result of these assholes being upset that this little grift is no longer going to be working. Oh, and the last point I'd like to make here, no matter what Donald Trump does to get America back on track and to help the American people, the Democrats are going to be there every step of the way to try and sabotage it. Even if it means that it's going to help the American people, they don't care. They didn't care about us. They haven't cared about us. And I'll say that there's even some Republicans, too, that share that same sentiment to where they don't care about Americans, and we see them doing things supporting this globalist agenda. The fact that Donald Trump has put America first and has stopped this shit of trying to meet these goals and giving to other countries and now starting to help us, they don't like it because these people hate America. And we see that play out. The people in Congress, like AOC and all the, who was it, Ilhan Omar and Jayapal or PayPal, whatever her name is, they hate America. That's why they say nothing about the destruction. Remember when 2020 rolled around with the BLM protests? They allowed Minnesota to burn to the ground. Trump's failure is more important than making sure America is okay. Because right now, all of them are thinking about we need to make sure that this presidency is unsuccessful because we're taking back the White House in 2028. That's all they're thinking about right now. They don't care how much damage they do during this Trump administration. Their focus now is on 2028. That's why I hope the DOJ gets on it and starts arresting some of these corrupted politicians, because they're the ones who are behind the scenes calling the shots, especially with the deep state. And this woman that we're being told to call Meghan Markle is still very much a part of this. And even though now what we're seeing her do makes absolutely no sense and people are not taking her seriously for anything, is all part of it. This is all to make us not pay attention or scrutinize her actions or actions of Archewell, as well as the things that Prince Harry is doing with certain people. There's a lot of things that they're not telling us. The things that they are telling us is for pure distraction. Trust me on this one. What I predict happening is that we're going to see more of this stupidity and effort to try and provoke the king and the royal family, but nothing is going to happen, in my opinion. Titles are not going to be taken away. Nothing is going to be done. What I see Meghan and possibly Harry, if he doesn't go back to the UK in 2026, is laying low, doing this stupid nonsense and trying to figure out how to buy time until it's time again to get ready for the 2028 election. Just like what they did in 2018, getting ready for 2020. That's what I see happening again, because they're going to try and take back control of the Oval. And Meghan wants her place there. And I do believe that that's ultimately where she's going. All this other stuff is nonsense. It truly is nonsense. And that's why law enforcement needs to get on it and take care of it, because Meghan, as well as Harry, are both threats to this country. The people that they are associated with are also threats to this country. Meghan and her circle of friends are responsible for what we endured these past 4 years and what's going on in LA right now and what is to come over the next couple days. Remember that. What is happening in America right now is all by design, by these very same people. So to close this video off, I'm going to leave you with this clip from a former Border Patrol agent, J.J. Carroll, who warns America as to what is about to come as a result of what these people have done these past 4 years.
Los Angeles is on fire. It is burning to the ground. If you think for a second that this is going to be contained in Los Angeles, you are a fool. Maps of the United States of America are being shown where the next riots are being planned and staged. Pallets of bricks and concrete cinder blocks are being put into city streets all across America. Get ready, America. This is exactly what I predicted. This is exactly what I wrote about. It's not, I didn't sit here and talk about it. I wrote in my book about it. I talked about it in my documentaries. I give interviews about this. That when you allow in 30 million illegal aliens in 4 years, 50 million in total in the last several decades, the majority of them single adult military-aged men. The complete majority of them are here as takers. They're not going to provide a damn thing to our country. When you bring in that amount of people that have no loyalty to the United States of America, then you will have a problem when you begin to remove them from our society. In America, you better get ready. You better be ready, because this is going to spread like a wildfire. You think you're safe in Kansas and Missouri and Alabama? You think you're safe in Utah? It is going to burn. The summer of love of 2020 is going to look like a walk in the park. Every major city in America is going to be on fire. You mark this, you bookmark this show, and then you realize that our government will do nothing because they can't. Because they will be reactionary. And once the city begins to burn and the people on the street, guess what? The left knows something that the right just can't seem to get in their brain. Is there more of them than police?
Such a fraud.